What's going on, everyone? NASCAR Joshua 5 here, and it's time for some more F125 gameplay. The 2025 Formula One season heads to Azerbaijan this weekend, or to Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc started on pole last year, and I believe who won the race last year? I believe it was Oscar Piastri who won. It was McLaren. One of the McLarens won last year. Charles Leclerc has been the qualifying king at this track. He has won, let's see, the last 24, 23, 22, 21. So he's won the last 4 poles. The last pole sitter that wasn't Charles Leclerc was Valtteri Bottas. And it's going to be, I'm curious to see if Leclerc qualifies on pole again this weekend. And of course, you'll see here I couldn't decide what driver to drive as. I picked Carlos Sainz, which he ended up starting 9th in the race. I was like, dang, I should have picked Sainz, but nope, I ended up picking somebody different. And you'll see I ended up going with the Racing Bulls. I was trying to think of a team I hadn't raced as, as much as I did before. And I know I've done Williams. I've drove the Williams in a couple of gameplays, I think, this year. But anyway, so we will see if Charles Leclerc will still qualify on pole this weekend. If he doesn't, then Ferrari really are having a difficult year. Charles did get a pole at Hungary, which didn't really materialize to anything, and Lewis Hamilton has continued to struggle. Sorry about that. But anyway, it's going to be an interesting race this weekend. Looking forward to it. Of course, the streets of Baku. I am struggling with this track. I don't know why. I didn't think I sucked at this track, but it's just sometimes the braking points are just hard to tell. It's hard for me to tell where to brake, and I've had a lot of trouble with that. So I did good at the beginning of the race, but I kind of fell back a little bit. My driving hasn't been as good, but I've also been a little busy, so I haven't had as much time to drive as much. So keep that in mind. That's my excuse for the day. So hope you all enjoy this gameplay, and we have yet another 5-lap race, and I'm gonna see how I can do in this one. My driving was alright, like I said. It could have been better. But we're going to throw it over to David Croft this time around, and I'll let him take over. It's David Croft and Anthony Davidson. Let me know who you think is going to win the race this weekend, and enjoy the race. Catch you later, everybody.
As the drivers begin to climb into their cars down on the grid, the excitement is really building at this magnificent circuit. We're just about ready to go racing for today's Formula One Grand Prix. The Baku City circuit measures roughly 6 kilometers, and it's made up of 20 corners and 2 DRS zones. The circuit winds around the narrow city, through the old town, and even brushes against the city's medieval walls. However, as beautiful as the setting is, this track is also a ferocious technical challenge, where the smallest of mistakes could lead to a catastrophic consequence for any one of our drivers. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Yuki Tsunoda lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Antonelli, George Russell, and Piastri, Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, and Fernando Alonso, Lawson, Albon, Lance Stroll, and Hadjar, Ocon, Gasly, Ollie Behrman, and Jack Doohan. Bortoletto and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. And alongside me, a man, well, what more can I say? But he's a legend, Anthony Davidson. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
And Lewis Hamilton takes the checkered flag and once again wins.
Well, as Lewis Hamilton continues to extend his impressive race victory record, he doesn't see any end in sight. We can't either, but we have to make sure we enjoy this moment because we're witnessing history, Crofty.
What a day it's been for Formula One, and what a day it's been for these three drivers. Time for the podium celebrations. Time for our drivers to celebrate. It's a familiar sight in Formula One, and here it is once again. Lewis Hamilton with the trophy held high, celebrating a masterful victory. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.